So over the weekend, I made a couple of social media posts in which I discussed some of the trips that I have coming up in the next couple of months and some of the trips that our family are going to be making. First off, my wife, in her new to her used Chevrolet Bolt EV, made a decision shortly after buying the Bolt that she was going to drive to the Midwest to see family for the holidays, which is slightly bonkers. Then in January, I'm going to be driving to CES in Las Vegas with the entire Transport Evolved team. And then at the end of January, beginning of February, the whole Transport Evolved team will be driving from Portland, Oregon, all the way to Austin, Texas for Fully Charged Live. Why do we drive instead of not fly? Well, that's pretty simple. It costs a lot less. It's an experience. It's an ability for us to capture content while we go. And frankly, the amount of equipment that we take to events is so large that we would be paying huge amounts of fees for overages and all the extra bags we have to take. And people said, when they found out that we were going to be doing this, why are you just not hiring a Tesla? Why are you not taking a Tesla? And some people even said, what you're trying to do is impossible because you're not going to be taking a Tesla. 3 years ago, that might have been the case. That's not the case anymore, thanks to tools like a better route planner and expansion of charging networks. Things like Electrify America in the US have really made it possible, finally, to go long distance road tripping in an electric vehicle. The charging stations are installed in multiples, so there's less risk of everything failing at the same time. And it's just made road tripping a whole lot more pleasant. Earlier this year, if you were watching the channel, you'll know that I drove to Los Angeles and back in 4 days to pick up something from Los Angeles. And it was an incredible experience and it really gave me a lot of confidence road tripping. Obviously, back in January, we drove to CES and we're just going to repeat it again in January. We are going to do a different route. But people ask me, how are you doing it? And a better route planner is the solution. So I've got it here on my computer screen and I was going to walk you through some of the features here. So this is a better route planner. It's currently version 3.8. And the first thing it does is it wants to know what car you have. And so you have to tell it, you have to tell it, I have a Chevrolet Bolt EV and it's 2017. And then it just asks me for my destination and my plans. So I'm going to say Hillsboro, Oregon, because that's where I live. And then we're going to go all the way to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And that's the route. Now, before we actually do the route planning, we can tweak things quite considerably. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the units. It defaults to metric because it's a European tool, but I'm going to use British, which means degrees Celsius and miles. So it's kind of a mixture of the two. It's going to ask me what my consumption is in terms of miles per kilowatt hour at a fairly brisk 65 miles per hour. So I'm going to say at 65 miles per hour, I can get 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. I know I can actually do better. It asks me if there's heavy rain or snow or just rain and snow. I'm going to leave it for dry roads for now. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to set weather conditions that I think we might be seeing in late January, early February. So I'm going to say the average temperature across the whole of that trip is going to be 10 degrees Celsius because a lot of it is going to be in the south. I'm hoping it's going to be dry and fairly warm. So I'm going to tell it that I can do 3.25 miles per kilowatt hour because we're going to be training a little tiny trailer with us. And I'm going to tell it that my maximum speed is 55 miles per hour because trailer, we can't go faster than 55 miles per hour. It already knows what car I have, so it's already got the charging stations all set up. And then we can plan a route. And at this point, it'll go through some of the possible permutations. It's a terrain-aware route planner. It's got great modeling for all of the electric cars that you can buy today. Some of them are in beta, so they're a bit kind of rough around the edges. Some of them are really proven and very, very accurate. And while this, I think, was originally designed as a Tesla tool, now everybody uses it. And right now, it's telling me this is the route that it thinks I am going to be taking. Now, right now, it's straight through LA and then through Phoenix, down to El Paso and across that way. If I was to change my route a little bit, and I was to say that I'm only able to do 3 miles per kilowatt hour, and I tell it to plan the route, it will come up with a slightly different route. It will pick new places for me to charge along the way. And if I want to make a stop somewhere to see family or friends, I can actually add waypoints as I go. So here we go. All right, now it's giving me a second option, right? So there's this one, which is through Salt Lake City and Grand Junction, through Colorado, then through Kansas, and then south through Oklahoma, and then into Texas that way. Now, I don't really want to do that trip, so I'm going to go back to this route here. And you'll see here on the route planner, it doesn't have all of the charging stations that we necessarily might pass when you're zoomed out. But when you zoom in, you do start to see other charging stations pop up. Now, if for some reason you don't want to stop at all of those charging stations, you can actually tell it, you know what? I don't need to stop there at Greenlots. I'd rather stop at an Electrify America charging station. So I can add this charger as a waypoint. Now, if I go back here and I plan my route again, it will take that into consideration. One of the things that you might have noticed is that there are a couple of different icons on the map. So sometimes you'll see a single lightning bolt. That corresponds to a charging site that has just one rapid charger, and you only have one rapid charger that you can use. Other locations will have 3 lightning strikes together, and that signifies that there are multiple charging stations on the same site. And it's really useful at a glance because it helps you figure out where is a good place to stop and also where the single point of failures are. And obviously when you're planning a long distance route trip like this, single points of failure are your enemy. So this one here in Blythe in Arizona is going to be a little bit of a toughie. So what I can do here, is it in Arizona or is it in California? Good question. I think it might still be in California. It is. I'm sorry if you live in Blythe. I did not mean to say that you were in Arizona. So it's a really good tool to give you an idea of how much charge you're going to have when you get there. It tells you how much you're going to be spending on charging. Now, because we have an Electrify America account, I know that we get a discount on charging, but it tells me that I will be charging for about 12, 13 hours, and I will be driving for about 47 hours, which gives me a total just shy of 60 hours of travel time. Now, we're obviously not going to be driving straight for 60 hours, but it could be possible if you really wanted to do it. Now, again, if I wanted to make a detour to see a friend, I can do that really easily. If I'm worried about the terrain, again, I can do some modifications to make sure that I'm going to be able to get where I'm going. Now, this is a fun one. Okay, so I've just clicked on a portion of the map that I know is a bit challenging, just outside of Palm Springs, just as you're coming up here. That elevation difference is pretty tough. And the thing I like about a better route planner is that it tells me exactly how far in the trip the highest peak is going to be for that leg. So I can kind of save my energy, ease off a little bit until I've reached that peak. And then from there, I know it's downhill pretty much all the way to the charging station, and I don't have to worry about it. So that is a better route planner. That's the tool that we use. Let's come up with a slightly different route, and I'll show you another option. So where should we go? Let's go to Chicago. I fancy a deep dish pizza. So let's go to Chicago, Illinois, and we're going to do that same thing, same route planner. It's going to be a different destination. And this time it will, again, tell me if I need to slow down. It will tell me if it thinks that the route is not possible, and it will give me charging recommendations along the way. So, you know, I'm going to Chicago, but I'm going to be going to Chicago. Let's pretend I'm not actually driving to Chicago. We're going to be going to Chicago in the middle of a really nasty snowstorm. Is it possible? Let's go to heavy rain and snow. Let's change the outside temperature to -5 degrees Celsius, and let's plan that route. it will now give me a completely different set of recommendations. It says no workable plan found. Now, that's because it's heavy snow, heavy rain, and it's going, nah, I don't want you to be able to do that. Now, if I changed my reference consumption to 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, let's see then if the route is possible or not. I don't think I'd want to be driving in heavy snow anyway. I don't think anybody would want to be road tripping in heavy snow. There you go. So if I can get my efficiency up to 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which I think is doable, it is possible, but it also tells me there are parts of the map where I'm going to have to be really careful. This one here, for example, between Grand Junction and the Rockies, kind of on the west side of the Rockies over to the east side of the Rockies, as you're heading towards Denver, that's a really big climb, okay? That is about 120 miles of just straight up. Goes all the way up to 6,000 feet. So that's quite a climb, and it will tell you if it thinks you need to change your route. So this combined with the ChargeWay app, which I also use, great way of telling how fast a charging station is. The higher the number, the faster the charge. These two apps in tandem work really well and help me plan a better route for my electric car experiences. If you haven't given it a go, give it a go. There is so much more to this app that I haven't looked at, including the ability to link it to your car using an onboard diagnostic dongle. So you get your OBD2 to Bluetooth or low energy Bluetooth or Wi-Fi adapter, you sync it up with your phone. I should point out that there's better compatibility if you've got an Android than an iOS device, but then that gives you live data and it feeds into a better route planner and actually changes your recommendations as you're driving. Although you shouldn't be using this app while you're driving, you should get a passenger to do it. But that is the route planning capabilities from a better route planner. That is how we are getting to all of the places we're going this year in an electric car, or rather in the next 6 months, because the year's nearly over. Let me know in the comments below if you've used it before, what your thoughts of the app are, and what trips you're going to be trying this out on. Hope you enjoy the app, and as always, keep evolving.